Hi, I'm Cockles. We are talking cults. Let's see how this turns out. This probably won't be a lighthearted one. Not a lot of sense, not a lot of humor, I bet. But we are talking cults. I didn't know if I want to do a cult episode or not, but I think when you start over questioning it to yourself, maybe that's your answer, you should. So here we go. We got us a cult episode. Grab a drink, pick your poison. Let's see what we can find. Here we go. Papa Wolf. I have a 33-year-old woman renting a room in my house right now who escaped the children of God when she was 16. She has several journals which she was forced to write, a few photo albums, and some videos on VHS tape of her time in the cult. She has also talked to me extensively about her time in the cult. Her parents joined the cult when she was a baby. Shortly after they named the cult The Family, and the materials she has shown me and the stories she has shared with me have horrified and disgusted me, despite their claims of changing their ways after changing the name to The Family, and forbidding child/adult sexual conduct and vicious corporal punishment. The stories, this woman, and the materials she has shown me completely contradict these claims of changing their ways. Although she has come a long way in recovering from her time with the cult, she still has deep mental scars from the abuse she received there. It baffles me that this cult is still allowed to exist till this day. Yeah, that's what you do, change the name. These cults or what have you won't just change their names, just like companies. It's common to change name because of bad press, terrible reputation, or to just rebrand. While nothing changes, maybe find a new cover. And not just companies, but cults do these things. Pretty nasty stuff. Andy Ginter Blues 2961. The Moonies, Universal Life Church, tried to recruit me in Manhattan in the 1970s. I even went to their headquarters for a few days. They bought the old Columbia University Men's Club building, but they were too creepy and I walked out. The 12 tribes have a hostel or whatever near where I've been living in Ithaca, New York. They just recently opened one of their Yellow Deli cafes in Ithaca. They are another way too creepy cult. The women and children are treated like slaves. One of their hustles is that they will send out work crews to do light construction and carpentry. My mom hired one of their crews to lay down a flat roof on a commercial property she owned. They sent a huge crew. They were there on the roof for what seemed like months, just hanging out doing nothing. Never even finished the job and left a huge pile of shingles. Of course, they made sure they got paid. Cults. Just a bunch of damn followers who have no idea how to think independently. Seems like a scary way to live. Yeah, I agree. I've never heard of them disguising themselves as like construction workers or carpentry. I've heard of people like disguising themselves as like dark cults, disguising themselves as like religious type groups. And then when you're there for a while and you start, their true motives start showing once I guess you're trusted or what have you. Shouldn't have paid them. But at the same time, like, probably type of people you don't mess with. Alright, let's see what else we can find. Moving on. Rosalila, 6417. In the early 80s, me and my friends would hang out down these paths in the woods. So we were hanging out on the grass. All of a sudden, this group of people all dressed in like when Jesus was here. It gets better. There's about 12 people and one guy who looks just like Jesus Christ. Everyone else was dressed in what looked like a long sleeve dress. They tried to recruit us. As fast as they appeared, they went back to their other side of the woods. We're all in our teens, 15. We're like, what the F was that? There's no place to sleep down there. But they were always ever so quiet. They'd just appear all the time. They were around for about 2 weeks. Poof. They were gone. To this day, we will bring it up, and yeah, we still laugh about it. How old were they? Did the dude say he was Jesus? And there's a whole lot of prophets. People follow people who have all the answers. And, I mean, well, that's just, it kind of explains itself. We want answers. We always have. We seek knowledge. That's what we do. If we're around people that seem to know what they're talking about, makes you want to follow them. You kind of, not really idolize them, but you really do look up to them, or you want to go to them for whatever you can, because we're terrified of the unknown. That's just how it is. It's built into us. So, someone comes along with all the answers, kind of sweeps us off our feet. Don't follow people who think they do or act like they do. Sinister Tim's 666. My aunt and uncle used to be in a cult. They used to take me when I was around 6. The only thing I can truly remember is everyone standing with their hands in the air, chanting very loudly. Everyone drinking out of a golden cup and the leader cutting himself with a blade. They stopped going eventually. Oh my gosh, what the heck? Easily steezily. My grandma has experienced similar torture and abuse from her family and religious members, along with dozens of cult sacrifice ceremonies. She developed DID, dissociative identity disorder, which kept splitting with each life-shattering traumatic event. They kept happening, and her brain kept developing separate personalities to cope with the trauma. Once the trauma and abuse stopped, she started going to therapy and bettering herself, etc. She learned she had over 100 personalities from the trauma. She has never written or spoken publicly about it, not because she doesn't want it to get out, but because the stories and horrors she witnessed would never be believed. It's terrible, but things like this happen so much more often than people would think. Be safe out there. The world can be a scary place. I can see the point of making things seem nicer than they are to help make up for how terrible they can be. I think I'm phrasing that right. Especially for like children's sake. None of this is new either. Stuff like this has been going on for probably since the beginning of mankind, I'm sure. Anything to get into power of some sort or control people, like this stuff's gonna come along. And I couldn't imagine like what a lot of these people would be going through. And I can almost bet therapy isn't always gonna help. What do you do with something like that, what I gather, we already have a tough time with like soldiers with like PTSD, and then you get these like very unnatural, horrifying events that can happen to you, or that you experience that, what she said, like most people ain't even gonna believe in the first place, and how that's gonna mess you up mentally. That's terrifying to think about. Nature, although nature has wondrous purity and a picturesque, I think I'm saying that right, picturesqueness about it, nothing is also more vicious. It's like the perfect balance. So you see what you want to see in it. If you think nature's evil, corrupt, you're going to find it. And the same vice versa. Connor Fortier, 2,699. When she mentioned that she grew up in the Seattle area, it really hit home for me. I grew up in Salem, Oregon, a mile away from the Fairview Medical Hospital, and my ex-girlfriend was a caregiver at a halfway house for mentally disturbed people. She had one client that was a victim of satanic ritual abuse in the town I grew up in. She had scars on her body and was completely destroyed mentally and emotionally. This could have very well happened in the same circle of people somewhere near Salem, Oregon. My voice is going out. I was like, some of these ceremonies of like, not just like sexual abuse or stuff happening to women or little ones, taking advantage of them, the killings type stuff. Again, nothing new. Some people don't come out mentally okay with this stuff, and that should tell you everything you need to know right there. You can't be doing anything positive if that's the result. Angela Caduce, 1972. This creeps me out. My mother met a bad man at 14 years old. This bad man made her have a child a year for 7 years. He was a sadist. He locked her in the closet with her kids for weeks, and her baby died in her arms. All these kids had major issues in life: suicide, drug addiction, and incarnation. The CAS came and took the children. I found them in my 20s. My mom is still with me. She's 84. I'm the baby of 10, and I'm the only one the government let her keep. Some people can't believe that there's sick-minded people out there. Man, some of these are just tough to comment on. Like Jamie McElroy, 5,830. We can research child sacrifice, and throughout history, across many cultures and many times, it's a fact. It's documented. It's objectively true. So I don't understand why people now scoff so much when presented with the possibility of this happening now. Everyone thinks it can't happen in modern times, not me. Right there. I think I think that's a great point. People can't believe because this is stuff normal people don't think about right here. As a society, it shows how fortunate we are. Again, I think why people do scoff is because we probably think that's such a primitive thing. Like, why would we, we want to make it rain, so let's go kill a bunch of people or something. We think we're past that. We're more civilized than that. And, we are to a point, but it's got to be more than just like a primitive thing of thinking then. What I mean by that, the motives must not have been just for, hey, let's do this for this reason, if we're still doing it today. Like, there must have been a sliver of people that were doing it for the reasons they were doing it back then. It's really dark and twisted. But yes, people scoff. We think it's just an uncivilized way to live, and we're just too civilized for that. And no, stuff like that's going on today. Most people, I'm just speaking for mostly civilized countries at this point, we haven't experienced stuff like that. Also, most of our parents probably haven't experienced terrible events. Yeah, after so many generations of being past that, we forget that that's what got us here. We don't have to do stuff like that no more.
Isn't it interesting that we always know that has been the case throughout history, but we don't want to believe it's happening with the elites of the world now? Like, in our minds, we want to separate the people of today from the people of the past that did the same thing over and over and over and over again throughout history.
It isn't going to resonate that this is reality. We like to see it on our TV screens. I guess it's really popular with women, like these true crime shows. And sometimes the thought of, like, it being true is scarier than any fiction. Getting too deep into that. Thank you so much for joining me. I was your host, Cockles. Seems like a wrap. Damn, can't do it right now.